It's 4 p.m., May 1st, 2023. I'm going to call this special meeting of the City of Utica Common Council to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Aiello, Burmaster, Friend, Miola, Urban, Beatrice, Williamson, Classimo Testa, DeBrango, Galimi, all present.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for the deceased members of the council.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is a special meeting today, so the only order of business will be public comment and then the legislation that was submitted, which is resolution number 1 from Councilmember Classimo Testa, and then also the discussion regarding the new traffic schedule legislation that was defeated at the previous meeting. The agenda was set as a discussion on complete streets. Before we begin, I just wanted to go over a few things. Obviously, the resolution that is being introduced and sponsored by Councilmember Classimo Testa will be as such, but then what's in the packet is ordinances 14, 15, 16, and 17. The reason they're included in the packet as legislation that was submitted on 4/18, and then the date of the legislation was 4/19/2023, the last meeting of the council. These pieces of legislation sit in the packet with the last vote when they were defeated, with that vote count. The reason being is that my expectation is that if this discussion was set, then these pieces, as they were added to the packet by council members as part of the discussion, may be reconsidered. If that is to happen, the council would have to make a motion to reconsider. The motion to reconsider for each piece separately would have to have a second. If the motion to reconsider does pass by a majority vote, then each piece that is reconsidered will then be on the floor for a vote as the reconsideration vote. Is that clear?
You left one thing out, Mr. President.
Yes.
The motion to reconsider needs to come from the, in this case, the negative vote.
Well, regardless, yes. Per the rules of order is how I'm explaining it. So I think what we're going to do here is start with ordinance number 1, or resolution number 1. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, public comment, but would we like to introduce resolution number 1 prior to public comment, or should we move just on to public comment? Public comment? Okay, perfect. We have 7 speakers today. The first of which is Lisa Wilsey. If you could please come forward. The Common Council's provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this? Please state your name and you may begin.
Lisa Wilsey. Linda will be speaking again. On behalf of the Stanley, do we do 2 minutes again?
Yes.
Okay.
As a group, you would get 4 minutes together.
Okay,
Yes, thank you.
no problem. Lisa Wilsey, I am the Executive Director of the Stanley Theater and also the Board Chair of Film Utica, the newly established film commission here in the city. And I'm here once again to implore upon you the concern we have with a bike lane in front of our loading dock in particular. We have expressed time and time again the safety concerns we have with the trucks, the cases, and also the blind spots of the trucks, which I even witnessed this morning. We had about 7 tractor trailers in and out of our dock between 7 and 10 o'clock this morning. Very, very concerning, and I really would love to open up a dialogue as a key stakeholder in the neighborhood to continue this conversation. All of the position of the theater is we are pro-bike. How could you be anti-bike? That's like saying you're anti-swing set. It's just not something we are. but we also are in favor of this project, but would love to discuss a way to reroute this bike lane or this entire project to an alternative street, preferably behind the Stanley in a more residential neighborhood. I know that doesn't go for what maybe the initiative of Complete Streets intends to do of getting people downtown straight away, but I just think there's a more conversation to be had. There's a lot of development happening downtown. We have the Nexus building, we have an amazing hockey team, we have Harbor Center developing, you have Bag Square, you have a lot of vacancies downtown, new housing being built. There's a lot of things happening here organically that weren't here 8-10 years ago that we have to contend with today, which is a great problem. Utica is growing. And I just feel that we could take a little bit more time and have a lot more thoughtful conversation and have the key stakeholders, including Broadway Theater League, who Danielle Padula said I could speak on her behalf today, to really discuss how to move forward with some pace. So again, just asking for time and further exploration so we can find a win not only for the bicyclists, but also for the key stakeholders that do have a genuine concern.
Thank you.
Yep.
Perfect on time, by the way, as well. Linda Iannone. Please come forward. The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule, and I do need to read this to everyone, that's why I keep repeating it. Please state your name and may begin.
My name is Linda Iannone, and I'm the Booking and Events Director at the Stanley Theater. One of the things that concerns me in the proposed ordinance number 16 is the comment that says bike lanes are a portion of the roadway. They are delineated and marked for the use of bicycles. There shall be no parking, standing, or stopping vehicles within the designated bike lanes. One of the things that we have a problem with is that when we get 15 to 40 buses coming down Genesee Street, or going north on Genesee Street is when they deliver the kids, they will be blocking a bike lane for at least an hour. No parking, no standing, no stopping vehicles. My question is to the council, what do we do? Do we get ticketed? What do we do? We need to address this. We've never had the Complete Streets go completely in front of the Stanley. Why don't we get something there that allows us to have a test? Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Honorable Joan Skane, retired. The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes, I am.
Please state your name and you may begin.
My name is Joan Skane. I'm a retired lawyer and judge. Thank you. I'm here to support Lisa and, of course, Linda, and to ask that you please listen to what they're telling you. But I'm here for a very selfish reason, and that is because as a lawyer, I look at everything according to what could happen. And what I see is a terrible accident when the biker comes down the lane and tries to go around the buses, which must necessarily be there, and is hurt or worse. What they're going to do, and I'm telling you as a lawyer, not giving you advice, but because I've practiced law for over 45 years, and this is what I see, they're going to sue the city first, and a clever lawyer will find a way to get to the council people. Then they're going to sue the Stanley and the Broadway Theater League, which will totally disrupt any business. No business is going to want to come to the Stanley or to the Broadway Theater League and subject themselves to a possible lawsuit. And next, they're going to sue the producers of the shows. And so what you would do essentially is wipe out the culture that's in the Stanley and in the Broadway Theater League. And I know you in particular support the arts and support the culture. And so I ask you to consider this carefully, to consider what could go wrong, because trust me, in 45 years I've seen if it could go wrong, it will go wrong. Consider this carefully without emotion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Greeney.
Sarah Moore. The Common Council's provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
I am.
Please state your name and you may begin.
My name is Sarah Moore. I am a resident of downtown Utica and specifically on Genesee Street. I've already been here with others to speak about safety and how I feel as a cyclist, pedestrian, and driver, but that didn't seem to land. So I'm going to speak a little bit about something else, downtown revitalization and Utica's future. I moved to Utica less than a year ago, and I can already tell you guys have something special here. There's so much pride in your city as a whole, and as people have said already today, downtown is growing, Utica is growing. And I think we can all agree that downtown should be a place to visit, but Utica still has some work to do to get there. Complete streets are part of how we get there. Making streets where cyclists, pedestrians, cars can come down Genesee, feel safe, and also feel like they want to stop. I've heard we don't have enough information, we don't have enough data. We have reports from CNS Engineering, we have recommendations from the Department of Transportation. And so I don't know how much more we need. All these reports show that it's safer to have 3 lanes and have a bike lane. More safety equals more pedestrians. More pedestrians is a more vibrant downtown. And if this is not complete streets, I don't know what is. So I'm asking that we make the trial permanent. We make a change for Utica's future. Because cities around the state, around the country, are making these changes. And if we don't do this, I fear that without investing in this city in this way, with things like complete streets, Utica, its people, the people that you all represent, might be left behind. Thank you.
Thanks. Randall Huther. The Common Council's provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes.
Please state your name. You may begin.
I'm Randall Huther, and like Sarah, I agree that the Complete Streets change is a positive one, not one that has no negatives, because I drive too. And occasionally I've been trapped in as the traffic backed up a little. That's something I'm hoping that we're working on, the engineering department timing the traffic lights and stuff like that. But on the whole, I think it is an improvement. I bike and have biked all around the world, in Latin America and in places where like the Netherlands that have excellent bike infrastructure, and places like Mexico that have none. And I can say that Utica resembles more Mexico than it does the Netherlands, because we have almost no bike infrastructure, and that's why you don't really see any bicyclists out in the street, because you have to be a very strong rider to ride with cars. So I think the change, putting a bike lane, from what I've seen of it, is on the whole more positive than negative. But people have made some good points, even though I don't necessarily agree with their conclusion. It is true that an ordinance saying that you couldn't stand or stop in the bike lane would necessarily be kind of something of a contradiction. So I'm hoping that the legislation maybe can be amended or changed to account for that exception case. And I did just want to point out, as far as safety goes, that there currently already is a car lane where the bike lane is proposed to be, and that cars are vastly more dangerous than bikes are. So if we're willing to accept that cars currently are in that space, and cars can get around the buses and all the areas, I don't see necessarily how a bike couldn't do that, or why a bike would be more dangerous than a car. And maybe for the future discussions, I'm hoping that this isn't the last time we try complete streets in this city, that maybe the legislation could be amended to include some kind of provision for getting approval from businesses, or getting more input from businesses, because that seemed to be a sticking point in this entire discussion. So maybe some kind of amendment can be made to 2-31, talking about how do we solicit input? How do we get that? Do we have public hearings? Do we need a majority vote? Can any business veto it if they want? So just to think about these things for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. I also appreciate everyone's respect for the council and how they're presenting their comments. Tony Leone, you're the next speaker. The Common Council's provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes, I am.
Please state your name. You may begin.
My name is Tony Leone. I'm the legislative representative for North Utica, the 23rd District. I represent all of North Utica and parts of East Utica. Most of you here know me. I don't get up to speak much, but I just come in here to absorb what goes on in the city, because I represent city residents. I have done a private poll of all my county legislators that represent sections of the city, and they are all against the complete streets. I personally believe that the traffic patterns should be designed when traffic is at the worst, not at the least. And when traffic is really backed up on Genesee Street, it's hard to get through. I travel it quite often, and I think we need more time to do, I don't know if another study's gonna work, but I just think we gotta, the Stanley Theater is a jewel of our community, and it's gonna disrupt their business, and I think we've survived, and I'm not against bicycles, believe me. My wife rides bicycles, so my wife bicycles all the time. But the people that I've talked to say that our bike lanes, just like on Oriskany Boulevard, they go from Broad Street to Oriskany Circle, and that's about it. But I just think we need to look closer at the problem, and before we make any rash decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Final speaker this evening is Ron Vincent, or this afternoon, I should say. The Common Council has provided you a copy of Section 3244, Public Comment Period Rule. Are you in agreement with this?
Yes, I am.
Please state your name. You may begin.
My name is Ron Vincent. I've been coming to all the council meetings. I've been hearing a lot of talk about this complete street project. Everybody that's been up here tonight has been speaking about complete streets. This trial that we just went through is probably the most incomplete street program I've ever seen in my life. The main street that you're looking to work on, Genesee Street, and you're talking of a location from Oriskany Boulevard south. Well, if anybody had driven on from Oriskany Boulevard to Lafayette Street, there was no test done there at all. There was never a bicycle path put in. There's no place for a bicycle path. To complete the street, what'd somebody do? Come down to Lafayette Street from the south and find out, well, I guess we can't take bicycles past this point. There's no bicycle path. If they did put a bicycle path, they'd have to turn it into a one-way street. There's no center medium because people coming over from the north side aren't directed to stay out of that middle lane. And what do? They just come up, and if you're not cautious, they will sideswipe you. This test that was done, our fire department, our police department, and everybody in this room found out about it minutes or hours before this thing was going to take place. Nobody had any input. Guess what? People like myself, who's not a politician or a city employee, I'm just one of those people that pays taxes in this city. We weren't forewarned about it. Nobody cared about our concerns. Nobody asked us what we thought about it. All it was we're going to do this test. This test was faulted from the beginning. It wasn't done in a proper manner. And whatever it cost people like me that pay taxes, if anything, I think we ought to start a class action suit and sue somebody and get our tax dollars back for it. Thank you.
Thank you. That is the final speaker. Public comment period is now closed. Next order of business is new business, to which we have the discussion and possible reconsideration of legislation from the previous meeting and resolution number 1, sponsored by Councilmember Colosimo Testa. Motions from the floor, please.
I'll make a motion to
introduce resolution number 1. So that is sponsored by Colosimo Testa. Second is Williamson. This is there a vote to introduce, or are you introducing committing? What is your full motion? Just to introduce?
Yeah, I'll introduce it and have a discussion on it.
Okay. Your votes to introduce this piece of legislation, please, on the board, on the motion. It's a motion and second to introduce this piece of legislation so that it could be discussed. Unless you'd like to discuss it before you even...
Well, I'll be honest with you, Mr. President, I'd like to refer it to committee and take a look at it a little bit more.
That's why I was asking. It's so if you'd like to make a motion to commit.
Please.
Okay, there's a motion to commit.
Made a motion to introduce it.
I'm aware.
Okay.
All right. All right, so, what I'd like to ask is, would you like to, change your motion so that it's introduce and commit?
Sure. No,
Okay.
no, I'll leave it the way it is. I'll just briefly discuss it, really quick.
All right,
so-
because obviously after it's seconded, we can either bring it to a vote or make it a motion to commit. So, yeah, if you'd like to
Okay,
discuss
sure,
it for a moment.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what this is a request for the city of Utica to apply for a grant with the U.S. Department of Transportation for safe streets and roads for all discretionary grant, to conduct a comprehensive safety action plan for the city of Utica, specifically the Genesee Street corridor. What this does is, and this was actually given to me by somebody that does a lot of grant writing for the federal government. And I think that the most important, key parts are actually how the comprehensive safety action plan includes the following key components, such as leadership commitment and goal setting, planning structure through a committee, task force, implementation group, or body charged with oversight of the action plan, safety analysis of the existing conditions and historical trends that provide a baseline level of crashes involving fatalities and serious injuries. It talks about engagement and collaboration with the public and relevant stakeholders, including private sector and community groups. Equity consideration, develop through a plan using inclusive and representative process, policy and process changes that assess the city's current policies, plans, guidelines, and standards to identify opportunities to improve how process prioritizes transportation safety. Strategy and project selections that identify a comprehensive set of project strategies shaped by data with the best available evidence, with noteworthy practices. And progress and transparency methods that measure progress over time after an action plan is developed or updated, including the outcome. This council, I'll use the example for the fire department, looked at the possibility of getting grant money for the positions on the fire department. What this does is, prior to the city spending $1.1 million to permanently stripe the roads, is it gives a true comprehensive study on what is actually needed on Genesee Street. And it addresses, I believe, some of the concerns that some of the people, our public commentators that have spoke. The city actually does have to apply for this grant. The grant's open for applications and the deadline is July 5th. So obviously the city would have to apply for that. And again, I guess that my plea is with the council is, before we spend $1.1 million of taxpayer funding, let's not just get a map that we got from 2012 that was passed before a meeting that had zero discussion, and get a true comprehensive study with the grant funding that the federal government is willing to possibly award a municipality. The county of Oneida was just awarded this grant last year, along with the city of Ithaca. So I think that, especially with something as telling as the change of Genesee Street, I would think that conducting a plan and applying for a grant would be most suitable for this body to do before, like I said, spending $1 million to permanently stripe a road. So that is that.
Okay. Councilman
comment?
DeBrango?
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. It doesn't necessarily have to be the downtown district. It could also be the uptown district of Genesee Street as well. So it doesn't hurt to apply for a grant. I don't think it's going to cost us a ton of money. And who knows, we might be able to get something done if this passes tonight. Maybe we could work on the south side as well. So if you're gonna get a grant and get free money for it, why not go for it? So I encourage the council to really take a hard look at this. And I'll be supporting this legislation. That's all I wanted to say. And if it's not Genesee Street, it could pertain to another major thoroughfare as well. So why not apply for the grant and hopefully we can help ourselves out financially. That's it. Thank you.
Any other commentary before we commit or, okay. Councilperson Friend, you have the floor.
Mr. Thomas, I don't know if you can answer this. So what's the Oneida County that got this very grant last year? Do we know, does anybody know how they're intending to use it? Do you or Mr. Crossman know, like?
It's urban use. I'm going to defer to Derek. Derek sits on and represents the city on the HOCS, the Herkimer Oneida County Transportation Study, as well as the GP&O.
Okay,
so he's familiar with
great.
Transportation issues.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the Herkimer Oneida County Transportation Council did successfully receive a Safe Streets for All grant last year for a little over $400,000. The city of Utica, as well as the city of Rome and Little Falls, anything that falls underneath that municipal planning organization is a part of this action plan and will be assessed as a part of that action plan. So Utica and its streets will be actually evaluated, and we'll come up with implementation for different safety improvement projects, and then they'll prioritize based on which of the areas in the entire MPO region needs the most help. So we have actually already received this money, and Utica will be looked at as a part of this application.
So does that, so I just want to follow up, Mr. DeBrango, if I could. So does, from your point of view, given that you sit on that HOCTC, would this be repetitive to that? Would they be able to use this money, as Mr. DeBrango says, to like study something else that we're not already studying with this grant?
I think if we applied, it would be a duplication of efforts, because you have the Transportation Council that we sit on. Again, we're part of that agency, and they have specialization in transportation, which we frankly just don't. It will look at the entirety of Utica, not just Genesee Street. It's going to look at French Road, anywhere in the city that may have issues, and they'll, again, prioritize that. So it will assess everything that we have in the city.
Thank you very much.
Councilman DeBrango.
Yeah, I know the county, it covers obviously other cities in the county, but we could do this on our own. We don't need the county help. We could apply ourselves as the city of Utica applying for this grant. Even though the county will assist us maybe in helping us in dividing that $400,000 respectively throughout the county, we could actually apply for it ourselves, correct?
We could certainly apply for it.
As the city of Utica. All right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just for clarification, the Herkimer Oneida County Transportation Study was more on a county-wide initiative. And
I think that's.
And I just want to specifically say there was in the people that I did talk to, there were no specific projects that Utica had applied for with the grant.
Well, so I did want to just reflect what Derek Crossman, the city planner, just did state, was that if this was done under even the county scope, it would be for the city as a whole. So.
Yeah, I just add one more point. They put out an RFP April 26th with a due date for May 26th, looking for a transportation specialization in planning to oversee this whole thing. They'll come up with, again, implementation plans and then apply in later years for the same funding, the Safer Streets for All funding, for actual implementation money to work off of that action plan. So I just want to put that out there.
Okay. I did want to actually make one comment on this regarding the process. Regardless of the funding, we could still be following these types of processes. The meeting after the October 19th meeting, when we did initially as a whole together pass the first trial, I did give a PowerPoint presentation, and most of that PowerPoint presentation carried almost all of these points in how policy can have process regardless of applying for grants. As a city, we should be doing these things regardless. Okay.
Motion to commit, Mr. President.
Second. Aiello's the second. Any opposed to placing this in committee? All right, do you want to, let's throw it on the board since.
This is voting for placing it in committee, is that right?
This is voting to put this in committee.
Right.
A yes means
Yes
yes,
is
and a
yes
no
to
is no.
committee, right.
Yeah, clear the board. The motion is to commit.
Yes.
If you would like this in committee, vote yes. If you would not like it in committee and you would like it to die, vote no. 5 votes, it's in committee. Okay. Moving on. motions from the floor?
I make a motion to reconsider proposed ordinance 14. Do you want me to do them all in?
No, they have to be done one at a time, so thank you.
Second,
All right, so
Mr.
there's
President.
a motion to reconsider the vote which took place on the 19th of April, our last meeting. The second was Councilperson Aiello. Your votes on the board to reconsider. This is so that this may be reconsidered, your votes. So if you do not want to reconsider this, vote no. If you do want to reconsider this, vote yes. All right, 5 votes, affirmative. So this ordinance 14 is on the floor for reconsideration. I'm going to read just the now be it ordained portion. Now be it ordained by the Common Council for the City of Utica that Chapter 2-16, Article 9 of the Utica Code of Ordinances shall be amended by adding Section 216.385 entitled Schedule AD Traffic Lane Reduction / Addition to read as follows. The following streets, avenues, and boulevards have a traffic lane modification. Genesee Street from Oriskany Street to Cottage Place reduced from 2 lanes to 1 lane of traffic in each direction. Further ordained that the proper pavement markings be erected where necessary. So this is on the floor for a vote at this point to approve or deny. So the vote now will be just as it was prior. If you want to see this happen, you vote yes. If you do not want to see it happen, you vote no. Your votes. Councilman Beatrice. Five votes. It is passed.
I'm making a motion to reconsider proposed ordinance 15.
Who's the second? Aiello's the second on this. Your votes on the board to reconsider. All right, so it's on the floor for reconsideration. Clear the board. Your votes on ordinance 15, this is the vote to pass or deny ordinance 15. Your votes.
5 yeas adopted.
Okay. Next motion, if there is one.
Motion to reconsider ordinance 17.
17. 17 or 16?
17.
17. Aiello's the second. Your votes on the motion to reconsider. All right, so this is on the floor now for a vote. Ordinance 17.
Wrong way.
Wrong way. I apologize.
Your votes to reconsider again. Sorry. Okay. It is on the floor for the reconsideration.
So we did that already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did
Or, I'm
that.
sorry.
It's adopted.
Sorry.
It's the
It's adopted.
With your candy? You forgot your candy. That's your
Yeah, right? I don't have all my chocolate. Are there any other motions? Okay, before we close,
Nope.
If the council's okay with it, I did have just one thing to state. Okay. Couple things, since everyone is in this room. This has been referred to as complete streets multiple times. It's a road diet. Complete streets is a policy, in which case we reassess all of our roads when we're repaving them, reconstructing them, there's new development, et cetera. and I'm trying to not state anything I haven't stated already. The data. Everyone keeps claiming this is data-driven. I've poured over this data because it's what I do for a living. I deal with data and analytics and make decisions based on that. And I do want everyone to know that I did absolutely read through all of the data that was provided from the New York State DOT. The 47% reduction in crashes, the safety increase, et cetera, was based on rural implementations of road diets. There's a whole different data set for urban. Yes, it does have certain reductions in crashes. It does claim certain increases in safety. But again, if you read through the actual data, it does not necessarily compare to downtown Utica in itself. And I hope that the legislative body, as we move forward, especially since we just passed all this again with no bike lane, does at some point consider the fact that, as many of us have been saying throughout this whole process, we do want to see multimodal traffic appropriately driven through this city as a whole. And even if we didn't reduce to 4 lanes, because there's other places all over the city where we have 4 lanes, we could absolutely be guiding drivers and guiding pedestrian bicyclists and urban bicyclists who want to be actually in the road as part of the traffic to implement road sharing on 4 lanes, in which case the rightmost lanes, just like they are across America, are labeled for both vehicles and bicycles. We can't change every road into 3 lanes. We can't change 3 lanes to 4 lanes. That's ridiculous where we have it. We should be trying to go for multimodal transportation no matter what. And that's been supported by this whole council, and I want everyone in this room to realize that.
Mr. President, I just have one question. So 16, there's going to be 0 bike lanes on Genesee Street.
That is what it appears.
Okay, then I'd like to make a motion to pull Piece 16 out of committee.
Well, it's not in committee.
On the floor?
You need to reconsider it.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to reconsider ordinance number 16.
You can't, you voted for it.
No, I defeated
you
it.
voted against
So
it.
did Venice.
Right,
Don't
she
you
can.
say- Okay,
Yeah.
so I wanted to bring that up.
First,
I'd
let
like
me
to make
clear
a
up
motion.
one thing before we start this. Please address the chair. Everyone's talking to the chair so that you're not addressing each other. That way, we can have the conversation and we can all listen to each other.
So I'd like to make a motion to reconsider ordinance number 16.
Is there a second?
Second?
There's a second from Aiello. 16, the one that actually is regarding bike lanes. All right, so there's a second. Your votes to reconsider. Proposed ordinance 16 now. This is a motion to reconsider.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, then I changed my vote to yes.
All right, clear the board just to make sure everything's correct. If you vote yes, you're voting to reconsider ordinance 16.
I know, you confused me. I confused myself.
Okay.
That could be reconsidered.
So yes, we are going to be reconsidering this. It is on the floor for a vote. This is ordinance 16.
Hold on.
Hey, address the chair. Address the chair. It's just like pitch, no crossbar. Okay. Yeah.
I want everybody on the floor voting either yes or no on bike lanes.
Just, if you, Councilman Petrus, do you have the floor?
I just want to make sure, if I vote yes to this, I want bike lanes. If I vote no, I want no bike lanes.
Well, this is
Correct?
hold on. The current vote that's on the board is to reconsider ordinance 16. Just hold 1 second, because the judge has a question.
I don't think
Or
we
count-
can do that. Didn't you already reconsider 16?
No. They didn't. They
Which
skipped it.
16?
They skipped it.
That the one they skipped?
Yes.
Okay, then
Yes.
it's
All right. So, this is on the floor to reconsider.
the bike lane.
Yes. This is ordinance 16. I'm going to read the be it ordained portion of this before it's voted on. Now be it ordained by the Common Council for the City of Utica, Chapter 216, Article 9 of Utica City Code of Ordinances shall be amended by adding Section 216.386 entitled Schedule AE Bicycle Lanes. Bike lanes are a portion of a roadway that has been delineated and marked for the use of bicycles, not including any lane specifically marked for the shared use of bicycles or motor vehicles, etc. This has been read into the record prior. It is on the floor for reconsideration. Your votes.
It's on the
Sorry.
floor for a vote.
You need your candy, Mr. President.
No, we voted to reconsider this.
Yes.
No. You voted to reconsider it. Now you're reconsidering it. I'm not wrong. Your votes on this legislation.
And no vote means no bike lane.
No. A yes vote means you want to pass this legislation.
Yes means bike.
Okay? A yes vote adds the bike lane to the code. A no vote votes the legislation down. Councilperson Burmaster and Friend. Call it. Okay. All right.
Motion to close, Mr. President.
So there's no bike lanes.
Can I add? We're good.
Okay.
Point of doing the whole street.
Yeah.
You can ask me.